First up, the Ninth Circuit Court of Florida encountered the unique case of Mark Heath Lloyd. Lloyd faced conviction for the murder of Orlando Police Lieutenant Deborah Clayton and was implicated in multiple other murders, including that of his girlfriend. His charges included first-degree murder of a law enforcement officer, attempted murder of a law enforcement officer, aggravated assault with a firearm, firearm-involved carjacking, and possession of a firearm as a convicted felon. Lloyd's actions included the tragic killing of his girlfriend and their unborn child, along with shooting at his girlfriend's mother and brother. His encounter with Lieutenant Deborah Clayton, during which he fatally shot her, followed after a search was initiated to locate him.
Oh, they done took my eye. They done broke my nose, broke my jaw. They did all this shit. I resisted, but I crawled out to the road. So how did I resist? I ain't resist shit. They just did that shit. They tried to hide it from the news people, but I'm here right now.
Corrections, I think we've established everything we need to do in a first appearance hearing. He can be taken after he signs. Have him sign the no contact.
I'm trying to tell you.
During his court appearance, Lloyd strongly expressed himself, directing profanities at the judge. Law enforcement justified their use of force in apprehending him due to the perceived danger he posed as a criminal. Throughout the case, concerns regarding Lloyd's mental state arose, prompting insights from a psychologist.
What you see are sort of classic examples of schizophrenia. Sometimes you see that in individuals who are suffering from bipolar disorder and in other mental illnesses.
Despite claims of mental illness, Lloyd himself denied having any such condition. He asserted that his actions were driven by temporary insanity rather than persistent mental instability.
Follows as to count 2 of the charge. The defendant is guilty of attempted first-degree murder of a law enforcement officer. Special finding form regarding statute 775.087(2). As to count 2, during the commission of the offense, did the defendant actually possess a firearm? Yes.
As the death penalty for the murder of Lieutenant Clayton was announced, Lloyd remained expressionless. Previously, he had received a life sentence for the murder of his girlfriend and their unborn child. The case of Humberto Delgado, accused of the 2009 murder of a Tampa police officer, unfolded with grave charges, including premeditated murder, aggravated assault on a law enforcement officer, carrying a concealed firearm, and depriving an officer of his means of protection. Corporal Mike Roberts encountered Delgado while he was pushing a shopping cart, intending to question him. However, Delgado resisted, leading to a confrontation resulting in Corporal Roberts' tragic death.
Lie on the ground, helpless and unmoving. He took that .45 caliber pistol and he took the kill shot.
The prosecution's opening statement presented this narrative. In contrast, the defense contended that Delgado struggled with mental illness. Allegedly, Delgado believed that both the police and 50 Cent were pursuing him, offering a glimpse into his perceived reality.
He became something of what you would call a conspiracy theorist. And virtually every place he went, he believed there were people who were Masons who wanted him to join them and become a Mason. And when he wouldn't, then those people took it out on him.
Despite attempts to pursue an insanity defense, Delgado's statement of remorse, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to," complicated the argument. The prosecution interpreted this as evidence of Delgado's sound state of mind. Ultimately, the judge's decision held control over the case's outcome.
For the murder of Corporal Michael Roberts, this court sentences you to be put to death in the manner prescribed by law.
In a video depicting the sentencing, Delgado displays a casual demeanor, merely adjusting his neck. However, in 2015, the Florida Supreme Court overturned the death penalty, sentencing him to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Welcome to the Laconia District Court in New Hampshire, where 24-year-old Ronnie Amadon faces indictment for allegedly threatening his mother with an axe. Amadon stands accused of felony criminal threatening with a deadly weapon, allegedly wielding the axe after his mother declined to purchase cigarettes for him. Law enforcement responded to a reported domestic disturbance between Amadon and his mother, finding him visibly upset in the living room upon arrival. According to police reports, Amadon repeatedly threatened his mother with a double-edged axe during the altercation. Amadon's behavior escalated upon attempts to remove him from the courtroom, leading to a physical altercation with court sheriffs. His refusal to cooperate compelled a brief recess, during which an unidentified female, likely Amadon's sister, intervened, strongly protesting his removal.
Arose out of an issue over his mother refusing to buy him cigarettes or not being able to afford to buy him cigarettes, and that upset Ronnie.
During his arrest, Amadon claimed a prior diagnosis of developmental disability and a mood disorder, suggesting the need for psychiatric evaluation to assess his competency for trial. Prosecutor Jim Sawyer characterized the incident as triggered by a relatively minor cause, urging for a cash bail requirement. The judge ordered Amadon to abstain from possessing firearms and mandated reporting to Lakes Region Community Services. Bail was set at $5,000 in cash or surety. The pending evaluation by a professional psychiatrist is crucial to determine the authenticity of these claims. Mark Anthony Gonzalez faced accusations of fatally shooting Bexar County Sheriff Sergeant Kenneth Vann in 2011, leading to a murder charge. The incident occurred when Gonzalez approached Vann and shot him, resulting in immediate fatality. Due to the sensitive nature of the case, both defense and prosecuting attorneys agreed to conduct the hearing privately. Gonzalez's mental competence underwent inspection to determine his ability to stand trial. The competency trial aimed to assess whether the previously issued death penalty, based on his mental state, was warranted.
Good jury. It took 5 weeks to pick this jury, so it's a 50-50 chance, you know?
As part of the trial, recorded phone conversations were presented in court, where Gonzalez discussed the case and the jury. Additionally, testimony from Gonzalez's friend, Steve Starling, revealed unsettling remarks made by Gonzalez about the incident, complicating the favorability of the competency trial. During the sentencing proceedings, Yvonne Vann, Sergeant Vann's wife, addressed the court, expressing the difficulty of forgiving a man who had left her and their child behind.
I will never have any more alone time with my husband, and my time now is truly alone in every sense of the word.
You are hereby sentenced in accordance with Texas law to death.
Subsequently, Judge Mary Roman delivered the formal ruling. Throughout the court proceedings, Gonzalez maintained a near-silent presence, exhibiting an unsettlingly calm demeanor that bordered on chilling. Ultimately, he received the verdict of Texas death row. The Fresno County Superior Court witnessed a hate-driven shooting incident perpetrated by 39-year-old Muhammad Corey, resulting in the random deaths of white men on the streets. Corey faced charges including first-degree murder, multiple second-degree murder charges, assault with a deadly weapon, attempted murder, shooting at an occupied vehicle, and firearm possession. This racially motivated shooting spree occurred on April 18, 2017, claiming the lives of 3 white individuals. Corey, self-identifying as a black supremacist, explicitly expressed his deep-seated hatred towards white people, particularly white men. His extensive criminal history was emphasized by social media posts promoting reparations, black separatism, and derogatory references to white devils. The event unfolded when Corey visited a central Fresno motel 5 days before the shooting spree to meet a woman staying there. A conflict arose when an unarmed security guard named Carl Williams approached the room, complying with the motel's identification policy for visitors. While the guard engaged with the woman, a fatal altercation occurred as Corey abruptly drew his weapon, firing multiple shots at close range, resulting in the guard's tragic death. Following the shooting, Corey managed to evade law enforcement at the motel, fleeing to a nearby 7-Eleven and seeking refuge on the store's rooftop. His actions led to a disturbing incident fueled by racial animosity, leaving a devastating impact on the victims and the community. Corey descended from the rooftop the following morning, encountering a dumpster nearby, and altered his appearance over the weekend, including a haircut, while maneuvering through central Fresno. 4 days later, Corey found himself at a Starbucks, where he spotted himself identified as a murder suspect on television, in connection to Williams' death. Fueled by a desire not to be apprehended for a single murder, and motivated to target as many white men as possible, Corey embarked on a series of shootings in downtown Fresno. During this tragic spree, Corey discharged a total of 17 shots, resulting in the deaths of 3 white men and attempted assaults on 3 others. His victims were specifically targeted based on their race. In the initial incident, Corey fired into a utility truck, fatally injuring Zachary Randles, who was identified as a passenger. Notably, Corey spared the Hispanic driver due to his non-white status. Following this, he fatally shot Mark Gassett after encountering him outside a building. Subsequently, Corey fired at 3 more white men at a bus stop, with 2 escaping unharmed, while he pursued and ultimately killed David Jackson in a parking lot amid a series of shots damaging nearby structures. Upon his initial court appearance for the murder of these victims, Corey uttered odd and unsettling statements, including phrases like, "Let black people go," and predictions about increased natural disasters in the United States. Consequently, legal proceedings were halted, and a psychiatric evaluation was ordered by the judge to assess Corey's mental state. During the trial, Corey's defense attorney highlighted his client's alleged mental instability, attempting to argue that Corey couldn't have premeditated the murders. However, Corey himself took the stand and admitted to the killings. He testified about his deliberate actions in shooting and killing Carl Williams, and later initiated a shooting spree targeting white men, resulting in the deaths of Zachary Randles, Mark Gassett, and David Jackson, and attempted assaults on 3 others. Shockingly, Corey confessed that his motive was to eliminate as many white men as possible, proudly comparing his intentions to the impact of the coronavirus on white individuals.
We have a confused, mentally ill man not deliberating, not considering, acting impulsively, and unable to premeditate.
During the sentencing phase, Corey displayed disturbing behavior, laughing and giggling extensively. This behavior extended to blowing kisses and grinning at the entire courthouse, exhibiting a lack of remorse and a troubling disregard for the seriousness of his actions. This conduct aligned with characteristics often associated with psychopathy. Ultimately, Corey was convicted of multiple charges, including second-degree murder for Carl Williams, Mark Gassett, and Zachary Randles, along with first-degree murder for David Jackson, coupled with hate crime specifications related to race. Additionally, he was found guilty of 4 attempted second-degree murders. Consequently, Corey received a sentence of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, marking the conclusion of this distressing and hate-fueled series of events. In the case involving Jay Whit, he faces charges of second-degree murder and using a firearm during a felony linked to the death of William Furlong, discovered deceased at the Hells Angels Motorcycle Clubhouse in July 2013. Surveillance footage from the clubhouse revealed Whit entering with his girlfriend and departing with a plastic bag, actively wiping door handles and surfaces before leaving the premises. Whit's girlfriend, Tammy Kozak, is held in custody, facing charges of accessory and tampering with evidence. Kozak detailed to authorities that Whit woke her, confessing to a confrontation resulting in a body downstairs. Whit remained at large for almost 2 weeks before an arrest warrant was issued, leading to his apprehension. Prosecutors contended that Whit and Furlong had a confrontation prior to the murder. Prosecutor Matt Cousy sought the maximum sentence for manslaughter, highlighting the victim's character as a devoted father and family man, emphasizing the significance of the case beyond it being associated with the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club. Sergeant Rocher Jenkins of the Omaha Police testified that Furlong's body was discovered between a couch and a bar within the clubhouse. A witness present that evening implicated Whit in Furlong's death, alleging he forced her assistance in removing evidence. During sentencing, Cousy disclosed that Furlong had been shot 3 times, suggesting Whit attempted to stage the incident as a break-in by a rival motorcycle club. Despite being the primary source of potential information, Whit refused to cooperate, maintaining silence during the sentencing. His lawyer, Daniel Stockman, hinted at the possibility of Whit presenting a compelling argument for self-defense, though Whit opted not to address the court. In the legal proceedings, Jay Whit's attorney, Stockman, reasoned that the possibility of Whit facing an extended sentence as a habitual criminal influenced his decision to accept a plea bargain. Stockman asserted that the evidence presented in court only supported a charge of manslaughter and contended that there was a potential argument for self-defense. He emphasized, this was not a murder. The facts at best would find manslaughter, if not self-defense. During the sentencing phase, Dawn Furlong, the victim's wife, appealed to Judge Lee Ann Riedelsdorf to perceive her husband beyond his association with the motorcycle club. She painted a picture of him as a caring family man who provided unwavering support and stability to their household. Dawn urged the judge not to let biases or stereotypes cloud her judgment, emphasizing her husband's love and integrity. Look beyond his appearance and stereotypes. Please understand the depth of love and integrity he possessed, she urged. Ultimately, Whit received a 20-year sentence for manslaughter, along with 10 to 20 years for using a firearm in the commission of a felony, and 3 to 10 years for possessing a firearm as a felon. Whit entered a plea of no contest to all 3 charges associated with the killing of William Furlong. This resolution came from a plea deal struck with the Douglas County Attorney's Office, which excluded a habitual criminal charge that could have resulted in harsher sentencing. The court case involving Dante Morris in Tampa, Florida, centered on the accusation of killing 2 officers during a routine traffic stop, resulting in 2 counts of first-degree murder. Officers David Curtis and Jeffrey Kokab tragically fell victim to Morris's actions in June 2010, a traffic stop that abruptly ended their lives. As the trial commenced, Morris's ex-girlfriend, Ashley Price, provided crucial testimony, revealing details Morris shared about the incident, including the location of the shootings and the officer's race.
Can you please point to where he is and describe an article of clothing?
With a red shirt. That he did it.
That he did it?
Yes.
Did you know what he was talking about?
Oh, yes.
Had he referred you to something, to look at something?
To watch the news.
Did he tell you where he shot them, what part of their bodies?
Yes.
And where did he tell you he shot them?
In the head.
And did he use a descriptive term for them that let you know what race they were?
Yes.
And what term was that?
Crackers.
Family impact statements were deeply echoed during the proceedings. Officer Kokab's sister expressed her sentiments directly to Morris, conveying the impact of her loss and the emotional toll his actions had on their family. Similarly, Officer Curtis's mother shared her intense grief and the enduring pain caused by her son's untimely death.
I will never, ever be able to make new memories with my brother, now or ever again.
Now ask this court to put him to death immediately without hesitation.
The case gathered widespread public attention and scrutiny, notably due to the release of significant evidence: the police dashcam footage. This release prompted discussions and debates, with some questioning potential compromises within the police force, while others argued that the decision aimed to protect the slain officers' families.
As to count 1 for the first-degree premeditated murder of David Curtis, the court imposes a sentence of death. As to count 2 for the first-degree premeditated murder of Jeffrey Kokab, the court imposes a sentence of death.
As the trial unfolded, Morris appeared visibly disheartened, reflecting the demeanor of a man resigned to an impending fate of impending death. His demeanor leaving the courtroom suggested a sense of inevitability about his ultimate punishment. The Aiken County Judicial Center witnessed the trial of 28-year-old Joshua Tremaine Jones, facing charges including the murder of Master Corporal Sandy Rogers, alongside additional accusations of weapon possession during a violent crime, unlawful pistol carrying, failure to comply with police lights, and petty theft. In a tragic sequence of events, just before the murder of Officer Sandy Rogers, Jones had allegedly shot and killed his pregnant girlfriend. Officer Rogers responded to a call alongside 2 other officers to investigate 2 suspicious vehicles that morning. While the other officers inspected a truck in the lower area of the park, Rogers approached a blue BMW parked in a particular manner. 3 shots were heard by the other officers, and the blue BMW rapidly fled the scene, revealing Jones had just murdered Rogers. Law enforcement pursued the fleeing blue BMW at speeds exceeding 100 miles per hour, eventually resorting to aerial support from a helicopter to track the vehicle after losing visual contact. Jones was eventually apprehended at a residence on Yeoman Street in Batesburg. Following his arrest, Jones displayed bizarre behavior, including self-inflicted wrist biting, resulting in bleeding. These erratic actions persisted during his bond hearing, where Jones displayed uncontrollable twitching, growling, and cursing at the judge, presenting a concerning display of behavior amidst the legal proceedings.
You have the right to have an attorney present with you when you go into court. If you cannot afford to hire an attorney, I will be glad to screen you to see if you qualify. That will be based upon your income, and then that will be applied to federal guidelines.
It seems there was quite a dramatic spectacle during Joshua Jones' trial, with his behavior fluctuating between bizarre and seemingly controlled. His courtroom antics, described as a mix of erratic actions and sudden composure, led to speculation about his mental state. Dr. Donna Schwartz-Watts, a forensic psychiatrist, was called in to assess Jones's mental condition, examining whether his behavior was genuine or a deliberate act. The contrast between Jones's unusual behavior and moments of apparent normalcy, notably observed during the signing of a form, added an intriguing dimension to the trial. These instances fueled discussions regarding the authenticity of his actions and whether they were a portrayal or reflective of a genuine mental state.
I need you to sign that on the bottom line for me, and I'll give you a copy of it.
Sign right here.
I need you to initial on the front stating you understand your first appearance date for me.
You got initial right here.
And sign back across from your mailing address.
Ultimately, despite the theatrics and uncertainty surrounding his behavior, Jones managed to evade the death penalty, receiving a life sentence in prison without the possibility of parole. In the Multnomah County Courthouse, the arraignment of Russell Orlando Cordier unfolded, marked by disturbing accusations of racial malice. Cordier, a 40-year-old white supremacist, faced charges including murder, second-degree intimidation, hit-and-run driving, and failure to perform duties as a driver following the tragic death of African-American teenager Larnell Bruce Jr. This incident marked Oregon's first hate crime murder conviction in 30 years. Cordier's affiliation with the European Kindred, a white supremacist prison gang prevalent in the Oregon correction system, was highlighted during the proceedings. He had visibly displayed the gang's insignia and initials tattooed on his leg, signifying his association with the hate group. The altercation leading to Bruce's death occurred at a 7-Eleven convenience store in Gresham, Oregon, where Cordier and Bruce engaged in a physical fight, with witnesses noting Bruce gaining the upper hand and breaking a store window by slamming Cordier into it. Following the altercation, though both men brandished items, aerosol cans and machetes, witnesses reported no use of these items. Subsequently, Bruce chose to disengage, walking away, while Cordier, accompanied by his then-girlfriend Colleen Hunt, pursued Bruce in a Jeep Wrangler. Despite their initial separation, Cordier, prompted by Hunt, pursued and fatally struck Bruce with the SUV. Law enforcement responded to a hit-and-run incident involving Bruce, discovering him with fatal injuries. Bruce later succumbed to these injuries at a nearby hospital. Prosecutor David Hannon laid out these distressing details in his opening statement to the jurors, setting the tone for the trial proceedings to follow.
Russell Cordier hunted and chased Arnell Bruce with his girlfriend's large red Jeep not once, but twice.
Prosecutor David Hannon described Cordier's actions as deliberate and efficient in ending Bruce's life, emphasizing the calculated nature of the incident.
He intended to kill Mr. Bruce, again, not once, but as the video showed, twice. He accomplished that goal with cold, efficient, and lethal action behind the wheel of that red Jeep.
During the trial, Hannon portrayed Cordier as a violent individual unapologetic for his white supremacist beliefs. The prosecution pointed out Cordier's membership in the European Kindred Gang, attributing it not to necessity, but to a racist desire to belong to a brotherhood. Hannon highlighted Cordier's open expression of these beliefs within his social circle, emphasizing the racist groundwork of his actions. However, Cordier's defense attorneys, Kevin Sally and John Robb, presented a different narrative, contending that Larnell Bruce initiated the altercation without provocation. They claimed that Cordier and his girlfriend had merely driven to the 7-Eleven to hang out, asserting that Bruce unexpectedly attacked Cordier. Yet, Hannon refuted this claim, citing witness accounts and surveillance footage that showed Bruce peacefully standing outside the store until Cordier's arrival, with the altercation seemingly erupting upon Cordier's parking. This stark contrast in perspectives highlighted the contentious nature of the trial, with conflicting narratives emerging regarding the sequence of events leading up to the fatal encounter between Cordier and Bruce.
Neither Mr. Cordier nor Ms. Hunt knew that night as they drove toward the 7-Eleven was that there waiting at the store was a group of people who were about to set in motion a series of events with catastrophic consequences.
The jury's decision delivered a guilty verdict against Cordier for murder and failing to perform duties as a driver, despite objections from 2 jurors regarding the intimidation charge. Notably, Oregon's unique legal system allows for convictions on felony charges other than murder without a unanimous jury vote. During the trial, Cordier's then-girlfriend, Colleen Hunt, pleaded guilty to first-degree manslaughter, admitting to aiding Cordier and enabling Larnell Bruce Jr.'s death by permitting him to use her Jeep Wrangler SUV. Her plea agreement resulted in a 10-year sentence. In court, Cordier showed emotion but chose not to address the court during sentencing, following advice from his legal counsel. The judge sentenced him to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 28 years. This sentence added to Cordier's existing 4-year term for his involvement in a 2015 bars attack, resulting in a total prison term of 32 years before any potential parole consideration. The courtroom incident in Utah involving Cali Angela took a shocking turn during his trial for racketeering, robbery, weapons offenses, and assault. Angela, affiliated with the Tongan Crip gang as part of a 2010 indictment alongside 17 others, attempted to attack a witness during the proceedings. In a dramatic moment, Angela rose from his seat, armed himself with a pin and a mechanical pencil, and moved towards the witness. However, amidst the escalating tension, a U.S. Marshal shot Angela, resulting in his death. The intense nature of the video capturing the incident led to restrictions on its public release, though eventually, a judge ruled for its disclosure. Former U.S. Attorney Brett Tolman weighed in on the matter, offering perspectives on the incident that captivated public attention. Opinions were divided among people regarding the actions of the U.S. Marshal in response to Angela's threatening behavior, sparking discussions on the appropriateness of the use of force in that situation.
It's easy if you slow down the video to maybe argue or suggest that there was enough time to do something different. When you watch it live, it's very hard to see that anything different could have occurred.
Ultimately, this courtroom saga ended in a swift and abrupt end, with Angela's life concluding in the most severe sentence of all, death. The intensity and rapidity of events highlighted the volatility and unpredictability that can unfold within legal proceedings.
There's no question, though, you can turn a pen into a knife or its equivalent. You can take somebody's life with it.
The legal woes of Joseph Lancia, the Hells Angels group leader in Rhode Island, revolved around multiple charges stemming from a 2019 shooting and a subsequent 2020 altercation outside a Providence strip club. His legal troubles began with an incident in 2019 when he allegedly shot an unidentified victim.
Anyone inside 161 Messer Street? This is the state police. Come out with your hands up. Do it now.
During the 2019 shooting, Lancia reportedly fired a single shot from a .25 caliber handgun at a semi-truck passing the clubhouse, where he stood on the sidewalk. The victim, Richard Starnino, drove away, and an investigation led to the discovery of incriminating evidence during a search of the Messer Street clubhouse. This evidence included 3 handguns, various ammunition types, and the .25 caliber bullet stuck in the truck's door.
Duty member of the nightclub security in the face.
Despite being released on bail, Lancia encountered further trouble in 2020 due to an altercation at another clubhouse, leading to a violation of the terms of his previous bail release.
It's presumed innocent and has an unblemished criminal record. Hells Angel members, all of them, were in high alert at this point, knowing his history to carry firearms.
Lancia's defense attorney argued that the individual Lancia attacked was a known criminal and had allegedly threatened Hells Angels members, presenting this as a justification for Lancia's actions. However, the court was not persuaded and decided to detain him without bail, possibly due to concerns about public safety or a perceived risk of further violations or harm.
The court's not satisfied that if he were to be released on bail, that he is going to abide by any terms and conditions that were placed on him.
It seems Joseph Lancia's legal battle took a significant turn in 2022 when he requested Judge Kirsten E. Rogers to recuse herself from his case due to her husband's role as a lieutenant in the Rhode Island Police PD chapter. Despite his request, the judge opted to remain on the case due to insufficient evidence suggesting bias or conflict of interest.
A 5-year full sentence, all of which is to be served at the ACI.
Before a final ruling was reached, Lancia chose to plead no contest to the charges against him, likely believing it could result in a less severe sentence compared to what might have been issued if the case had gone to trial. As part of his plea deal, Lancia received a 15-year sentence at the adult correctional institutions, with 5 years to be served in prison and an additional 10 years on probation. Moreover, a 3-year prison term was imposed for the assault charge, 1 year of which would run concurrently with the initial sentence. Alongside the sentencing, the judge enforced a no-contact order between Lancia and the victim, Richard Starnino.
There is a no-contact order for the protection of Richard Starnino for the duration of 8 years.
Furthermore, the judge ordered Lancia to pay restitution amounting to $3,650. Throughout the sentencing proceedings, Lancia chose not to address the court and maintained a composed demeanor, exhibiting minimal emotion.
Anything that you would like to say, sir?
Nothing.
Have you ever thought of doing a stand-up routine? Have you ever thought about that?
I did. If you pay me good money, sweetheart, I'll be there. I'm really short of funds.
It sounds like Dolores Shenis had quite a memorable interaction with Judge John Hurley at the Broward County Courthouse. Despite her landing in jail for resisting arrest due to violating a restraining order from her ex-husband, the courtroom took an unexpectedly humorous turn. Judge Hurley gave Shenis an opportunity to explain herself.
Mr. Shenis, Abraham Arthur Shenis, and I have been legally divorced for 31 years, and I have the papers to prove it.
But he swiftly cut to the main point, emphasizing the conditions for her release, primarily staying away from her ex-husband.
You are not allowed to call him, text him, email him. You are to stay 500 feet from him at all times. That's where he lives, where he works, anywhere in between. Ma'am, you're getting a second chance on this case. I don't particularly feel like keeping an 80-year-old woman in the jail who has no criminal record. But this is your second warning. Don't go around him again.
Upon agreeing to the terms and swearing to abide by them, Shenis made a particularly clever remark that caught Judge Hurley off guard, prompting him to ask if she'd ever done stand-up comedy.
Oh, all that's over. Yes, sir. I didn't recognize your twang.
Ma'am, have you ever thought of doing a stand-up routine? Have you ever thought about that?
I did. Well, if you pay me good money, sweetheart, I'll be there. I'm really short of funds.
Ma'am, I got to tell you something. You seem like you have a great wit about you.
I do, sir.
Yeah, so...
I mean, sweetheart, that's the only thing I have.
In a playful exchange, the judge invited Shenis to critique his judicial performance, and she playfully poked fun at him.
Let me ask you something, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
How have I done as a judge today? So far, how am I doing?
Not bad, but you could do better.
Can we get a drum roll with this?
Yet, the real punchline came when Shenis, with perfect timing, quipped about someone else saying similar words and then suing her, provoking uproarious laughter from everyone in the courtroom, including Judge Hurley himself, who had to put his head down in reaction to the humor. It seems Shenis's wit made for a truly memorable courtroom moment. The case of Ashford Thompson was a tragic and emotionally charged one. The shooting of Officer Josh McTarian had deeply affected many, including the families of both the victim and the defendant.
I feel your mother did not raise a killer, but you turned into a killer that night. You put the gun to my son's head and pulled the trigger, killing him. And that wasn't good enough. You had to shoot him 3 more times while he laid down there dead, caving in the side of his head. The shot that took his life also took mine. I'm dead inside. I'm like a shell, going through the motions of life.
Thompson's mother and Officer McTarian's wife gave emotional impact statements, expressing their grief, anger, and differing perspectives on Thompson's level of remorse and the punishment he deserved.
Shot my husband in the head, and I believe all my heart, your girlfriend getting out of the car that night gave you that 2 seconds to get that gun out of your pocket and shoot him in the head. And then you bent over and you shot him again and again and again. You put the gun on his head. That's disgusting. Who does that?
Thompson's emotions fluctuated during the legal proceedings, ranging from expressing deep regret and a desire for forgiveness to feeling that the system was unfair to him. On the day of the judgment, however, he appeared stoic, showing no visible emotion.
I understand, what I did is a terrible thing, but I wasn't the only one in this situation.
Ultimately, the court sentenced Ashford Thompson to the death penalty for the aggravated murder of Officer McTarian.
I am the Lucifer or Morning Star of the Freemasons. I have many names from many different religions, all awaiting my appearance among you.
Welcome again to Tampa Bay, Florida, for the court appearance of Joshua Hackin, who works as an engineer during the day and claims to be a prophet and a Freemason by night. He faces charges of 2 counts of kidnapping, burglary involving assault and battery, and grand theft auto. Joshua Hackin and his wife, Sharon Hackin, stand accused of forcibly taking their 2 young sons and sailing to Cuba for what seemed like an unplanned vacation. Law enforcement officers reported that Joshua Hackin took his sons from Sharon Hackin's parents in April after the couple lost custody due to encounters with the police. They were intercepted in Cuba by U.S. agents and promptly returned to Tampa, Florida. The initial run-in with the police occurred in 2012 at a hotel in Slidell, Los Angeles, where authorities discovered Joshua Hackin unconscious in a room with marijuana and illegal weapons. His wife displayed bruises and made incoherent statements about being involved in a ninja program under witness protection. Consequently, the children were taken from the Hackins and placed in the care of their grandparents. A year later, on April 9, 2013, Joshua Hackin broke into his mother-in-law, Patricia Hauser's home, bound her with zip ties, and absconded with the boys. Meeting up with his wife, the family drove to Johns Pass before embarking on a 330-mile journey to Cuba on a 25-foot sailboat. Prior to his sentencing, Joshua Hackin delivered a lengthy and peculiar statement lasting 30 minutes. He referred to himself as a prophet, forewarned about an impending apocalypse, mentioned Greek mythology, various religious beliefs, surviving assassination attempts, and encountering animals that supposedly paid homage to him, such as deer, snakes, and foxes. Let's hear what he had to say.
I am Mithras. I am the Mahdi to the Shia Muslims. I am the Yeshua or Joshua to the tribe of Judah. I am the Pahana, or the true white friend to the Hopi. I am the Lucifer or morning star to the Freemasons. I have many names from many different religions, all awaiting my appearance among you.
It appeared that 36-year-old Joshua Hackin had been awaiting the perfect audience for a lifetime. Unsurprisingly, both Joshua and his wife Sharon, educated engineers, embraced many conspiracy theories. They professed to have uncovered a scheme wherein U.S. officials allegedly sought to manipulate American minds through chemtrails dispersed from airplanes. They expressed concerns about retaliation and claimed to be under surveillance by the CIA.
But I must now reveal these secrets, regardless of how you take the news and what you decide to do to me. I know the Christians who have been so tragically misled and misguided as to call the prophet Jesus the Son of God will think me evil. That those that blaspheme and make God's servants into gods will take their misguided beliefs to their illogical conclusion and call me Antichrist.
Following Prophet Joshua Hackin's 30-minute address, the judge handed down a sentence. Up to 15 years of imprisonment after his guilty plea on charges of kidnapping, burglary involving assault and battery, and grand theft auto. In addition, he was placed on 15 years of probation. The case of Ohio pastor Anthony Haynes is a disturbing story. Haynes was found guilty of assaulting a juvenile girl over a period of several years, from 2014 to 2017. The assaults occurred in the Greater Life Church in Toledo, where he held a position of authority and trust. The victim was just 14 years old when the abuse began. Haynes was arrested and faced multiple charges. When pleading before the U.S. District Judge, he asked for mercy, but his plea went unanswered, considering the serious nature of his crimes. What makes this case even more horrifying is that Haynes wasn't the only pastor involved in this heinous act. He shared the victim with two other pastors. The victim stated that she allowed the abuse to continue due to fear and manipulation. Despite the strong evidence against him, Haynes did not admit his guilt. Instead, he repeatedly pleaded for mercy. His wife and stepdaughter were also charged with tampering with a witness. It's evident that this was a deeply troubling family affair.
He did say that he was going to be my protector and stuff, so I did end up living with the pastor and his family.
However, he started abusing her.
Every day coming home, just expecting that I'm just going to have sex with him and anybody else that he threw my way.
However, the love and support of his family members did not sway the judge, who sentenced Haynes to life in prison for his crimes. Following the sentencing, Haynes appeared to show little remorse.
It was an emotional sentencing for Anthony Haynes with tears and more as he pled for mercy from the judge on behalf of his family who came in support.
I love my brother. That's it. He loves us. I love him.
I saw a pre-rehearsed, what I'd call almost sermon-like, and he almost made it sound like he was the victim.
As he was taken out of the courtroom, he continued to speak to his children, reassuring his love for them. Let's journey to the Jefferson Circuit Court in Louisville, Kentucky. Take your seat for the proceedings involving 36-year-old Adam Satterley, who is attending a bond hearing related to drug charges, specifically complicity in manufacturing methamphetamine. Today he faces Circuit Judge Olu Stevens, who has just revoked his bond and is immediately returning him to custody. Satterley's lawyer advises him to maintain composure upon receiving this unfavorable decision. As Adam Satterley is escorted out of the courtroom, everyone assumes the day's proceedings are concluded. Unexpectedly, he loudly utters a racist slur in the hallway, audible even within the courthouse. Keep a keen eye on this.
You'll have the bond return to you. I'll sign this order here once you get it. And we'll take it up, okay? As soon as you get it, thanks.
Before concluding the session, the judge had unresolved matters to address with Satterley.
sir.
Is there something that you wish to say to me?
No, it's my brother.
Oh, was that to your brother?
Yes,
Because I
sir.
heard you say a racial epithet.
No, I didn't mean it like that.
Oh, you didn't mean it like
No.
that? Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to hold you in contempt of court for having said that. And you don't speak those words in here.
Yes,
and
sir.
that word particularly,
Yes,
you
sir.
don't use that word.
Before adjourning, the judge had unresolved matters to address concerning Satterley.
I'm going to give you 60 days for having used that word. Hold you in contempt right now for having done it in this courtroom. It's disrespectful. Don't ever do it again. Thank you, Sheriff. Thank you, Ms. Ellis.
Reports indicate that issues surrounding race had previously been at the forefront in Judge Olu Stevens' courtroom. Stevens, who is black, had faced scrutiny in cases amid an ongoing investigation by the Judicial Conduct Commission. He was previously called out by Kentucky's Chief Justice John Minton regarding comments about a fellow attorney's desire for all-white juries. Today marked Stevens' return to the bench following Minton's denial of a request to disqualify him from criminal cases. It was a riotous day. Post the unexpected incident, Judge Olu Stevens presented Satterley with a final chance before issuing a sentence of 60 days in jail. If Satterley owned up to his actions and apologized for using the racial slur, the judge promised to reduce the additional sentence to just 1 day. Satterley swiftly accepted the offer without hesitation.
Yes, sir. I apologize. It wasn't intended for you. I was mad at my brother, is all it was.
Well, you can have a seat. I'll say this, that what you said was a racial epithet that I don't know how it could be directed at your brother, but at any rate, I accept your apology.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Following the apology, his sentence was reduced from 60 days to a mere single day. Now, we shift our focus to the story of Katherine Knight, whose crime may seem less extreme compared to the others on this list, but the gruesome details of her actions could rival scenes from a Stephen King horror movie. Imagine an individual with a disturbing liking for violence. The chilling events that emerged in this narrative are not the stuff of Hollywood gore scripts, but a horrifying reality that unfolded closer to home. In the peaceful Australian town of Aberdeen, nestled in New South Wales, one of the most dreadful crimes in the nation's history took place over 2 decades ago. On the surface, Katherine Knight appeared to be an ordinary mother, hiding the darkness within her beneath her wavy red hair, gentle demeanor, and warm smile. Born in Tenterfield, New South Wales in October 1955, she had a troubled upbringing in a highly dysfunctional family marked by domestic conflict, excessive alcohol consumption, and allegations of sexual abuse. Before her tragic involvement with John Price, Knight's 4th victim, she had a history of riotous relationships marked by extreme violence. Her first marriage to David Kellett began with a shocking act of aggression when she attempted to strangle him on their wedding night after their intimate encounter. Another disturbing incident followed during her pregnancy, where she burned all her husband's clothing and struck him on the head with a frying pan after he returned late from a darts competition. Later, Knight entered a relationship with David Saunders in 1986, which was spoiled by a violent attack with a frying pan and scissors during a heated argument. She even killed his 2-month-old puppy in front of him to prove what she would do if he ever cheated on her. Tragically, it was John Price who became Knight's final victim. On February 29, 2000, Knight launched a brutal attack on Price, her partner. What followed was a nightmarish scene of unmatched violence that deeply shocked even the most seasoned law enforcement officers. She mercilessly stabbed Price 37 times, dismembered his body, and engaged in gruesome acts. Yes, you read that correctly.
They showed the video of the crime scene in court, and it's perhaps the most horrific video you would ever wish to see. It's just unimaginable.
She handled him after his demise with such a level of expertise that it stunned the police. She even consumed some pills, indicating a possible suicide attempt. It's essential to note that Knight had a history of violence against Price.
Probably the worst bit of the video was when they went to the stove in the kitchen, and you see the gloved hand of a forensic policeman take the lid off the pot on the top of the stove, and inside it's Price's head staring back up at the camera.
In 2000, she once impaled him after an argument. He attempted to secure a restraining order against her, which proved unsuccessful. He even told his colleagues at work that if anything happened to him the following day, it would be her fault. Tragically, his gloomy intuition became a reality. Knight's crime exceeded all believable bounds of human evilness, resembling scenes from the most horrific horror films. She left a note insinuating that her husband had sexually assaulted their daughter.
I can't remember anything.
Do you recall yourself going to bed?
Faintly.
Although this was later proven to be untrue, after her arrest, Knight displayed no remorse.
And I was around washing up, and it could have been a fork, a spoon, or anything in my hand. It was a knife that cut your meal with, and I aimed it at him, and it got him.
For her monstrous actions, she faced a murder charge, pleading not guilty and claiming a lack of memory due to a dissociative state, attempting to distance herself from the unimaginable brutality.
Although Katherine had displayed this bizarre behaviour, committed this absolutely shocking and horrific crime.
However, she did recall stabbing him 6 months earlier, and the casual manner in which she spoke about it was chilling. The undeniable evidence against her left no room for doubt, firmly establishing her guilt. During the trial, the prosecution depicted Knight as a cold and calculated killer, presenting evidence of a disturbing history of violence. On the other hand, the defense tried to portray Knight as a victim herself, shaped by a traumatic past. However, in the face of compelling evidence, the judge pronounced Knight guilty. As a consequence of her atrocious actions, Katherine Knight received a life sentence without the possibility of parole, making her the first woman in Australia's legal history to receive such a punishment. Knight's atrocious crimes deeply impacted Australia, serving as a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of domestic abuse, regardless of gender. Big thanks to our viewers for joining the courtroom journey with us. Your interest in the stories of justice is what keeps our channel alive.